Thanks for making a date today and welcome back to the marketplace. The Institute of Chartered Accountants Ghana, ICAG, is collaborating with the Controller and Accountants General's Department to train accountants in the country. The move is meant to strengthen the industry and equip them with modern-day elements to face the changing trends in the business environment, especially within the financial sector. CEO of ICAG, Kwesi Agyeman, revealed this after the department paid a courtesy call on the Controller and Accountant General in Kumasi. Prince Appiah has details in this report.
The two agencies, one trains accountants, while the other is responsible for all accountants in all public institutions in the country. With the changing trends in financial services, it is about time accountants, especially those in government agencies, are armed with the requisite skills to face them. This comes at a time where the banking system is going through a turbulent phase. Kwesi Agyeman is CEO of the Institute of Chartered Accountants Ghana.
Accountants. And if controller setup is full of accountants, what do we need to do? We need to collaborate with each other and see how best we can help each institution, in the sense that controller staff, we need to come up with programs that will help enrich them in their activity. They shouldn't just stay there being stuck. We need them, we need to train them, we need to help them to develop, we need to help them to be abreast with changing trends. If you go to anywhere a government system is or a government setup throughout the country, you would find accountants there. And we think we need to get well-trained, qualified accountants to be managing almost every accounting unit within the government system. So this collaboration with Controller and Accountant General would help the nation at large, and it will help us train and develop the accountant out there.
The accounting profession has also come under great criticism in the face of bank collapses in what has become known as the banking crisis. The Institute of Chartered Accountants Ghana has therefore reviewed its syllabus for the first time since 1963 to reflect the changing demand of the industry. Mr. Agyeman believes it is critical to strengthen the professionalism in the country.
And then we realized there were lapses in terms of building accountants for today's environment. And as an institute, we cannot just have a one-size-fits-all type of syllabus. So what we decided to do in collaboration with Institute of Chartered Accountants, England and Wales, to review our current syllabus to reflect the changing trends, to reflect the current demands of the market, and came up with a revised syllabus. And the revised syllabus comes at the background of trying to prepare accountants, to develop accountants who will be relevant to today's business. We hear of business collapses, we hear of bank collapses, we hear of a lot of changing trends in the business arena, and our syllabus must also reflect same. Look at the various laws that have come up, Public Financial Management Act, the new tax laws and the new tax regime. We needed to come up with a syllabus that will pick all these things and train accountants who will be well versed in these changing trends.
Prince Appiah reporting.
Now, some private credit reference bureau operators are attributing the 7 collapsed banks to failure to follow credit advice furnished by them. The bureau is responsible for collecting the personal details of borrowers of funds and gathering data of borrowing and repayment information from various sources. In an exclusive interview with Joy Business, Chief Executive of XDS Data Ghana Limited, George Ahiafo, says most banks do not make use of credit information given them by the Bureau, a situation that also results in mounting non-performing loans on their books.
When we started the first year, the non-performing loans went from 18 to 14, just the first year alone. So that is an effect that should have been maintained. You know, this is a new initiative, you know, and it's basically a paradigm shift. It took a lot of training, getting people to understand what the value is for them for them to understand that they don't need to be penny wise and pound foolish, meaning that you need to know exactly the behavior or be able to predict the behavior of the person you're lending to. Well, licensing through bureaus is quite small for the market, especially if you don't have the total financial sector. I mean, the rural banks, the microfinance companies, SUSU collectors, all those financial institutions. If they're not part of it, you can understand that for a small population like ours, it's too much for 3 bureaus.
Exactly how many people do you have sitting on your portfolio?
Okay. Well, first, we do have about 4 million individuals and businesses sitting on the portfolio, and we have in excess of 40 million records. But in the beginning, you know, the apprehension or the misunderstanding that if you give the information, somebody might poach your client. It was just because most of the people didn't understand what this whole thing is about. Because if you are protecting your client without knowing your client's exposure out there, you're doing yourself a disservice. Meaning that if your client is performing well in your bank, perhaps they're just robbing Peter to pay Paul. They're defaulting on somebody else so that they can come and pay you. But I like to believe that angle of thinking has reduced tremendously. But again, more education is needed so that the Bureau information can be used more extensively than it is being used now.
Exactly what?
Let's turn our attention to the energy sector now. And Deputy Energy Minister Joseph Kujo says Norwegian oil company Aker Energy has finalized all the relevant agreements to commence petroleum operations in the country. Aker has indicated it could start oil exploration at the end of 2021. The Norwegian firm acquired U.S. oil company Hess Corporation's stake in the deep water tunnel Cape 3 Points block in the western region. Now, Daryl Kwao, who is currently in Norway attending the Offshore Northern Seas Conference, has come through with this report.
Busy day at the Clarion Hotel, where the Offshore Northern Seas Conference and Exhibition has officially opened. The big names in the oil and gas industry are all gathered here to market and look forward to opportunities to grow their businesses. And Ghana is not left out. Now, the CEO of the Petroleum Commission officially welcomed the Ghanaian delegation to the conference and exhibition.
This is not a joyride. This is a business trip. Our expectation is that before we all go back, each and every one of you would have gotten business. Because contracts, subcontracts, and maybe subcontracts will be awarded. And it is on the back of this that you are all here. So go to the companies, speak to them, find pairs, find companies that operate in your sphere of operation or business, and build the needed linkages. Otherwise, when the contracts start coming, you may be found wanting because you don't have, a foreign partner.
Well, for the Deputy Minister of Energy, Joseph Kujo, there are great expectations, especially for Aker Energy, which is expected to do business in Ghana soon.
At the moment, all the relevant agreements have been signed. Aker Solutions has its right foot in the country, and we're looking forward to the company starting its exploration and development phase to come in earliest time possible.
Well, Ghana is here at the invitation of the Norwegian energy partners. What is in it for us? Well, that is what we asked the director, Africa Midstream at Norweb.
Ghanaian companies will mainly focus on the Ghanaian market, I assume. So they will then just have to familiarize with the project development of the Aker Energy project, what is a contract strategy, and try to be part of those companies that are bidding for contracts on the Aker Energy project. And then, as you know, companies, Aker Energy will also have to then work with local companies to get them on board in the different supply chains necessary to be developed to deliver a project by 2021, as you suggested.
It's only day one, and there's plenty to look forward to. Darokwao, Norway.
All right, so back here in Ghana, we would like to know exactly what the entry of Aker Energy holds for Ghana's petroleum sector, and we've been joined on the line we've been joined via Skype by energy expert Kwadwo Poku to tell us some more details about this particular, transaction. Under what agreement does Aker enter our industry, Mr. Poku? If you can hear me.
Yes, I can. Basically, what has happened, Hess Petroleum, which has been in Ghana for exploration, made some discoveries, but they felt that those discoveries, they would want to on offshore projects, and they sold their block to Aker. Aker will take over the developmental, which has Petroleum, it's the GMPC and Petroleum Commission. Aker will have to review the developmental plan for the discoveries. The discoveries that has made, and going forward,
Hello, Mr. Poku, if you can position yourself well a bit. We seem to having some challenges. All right. So Mr. Poku, if you are, from what you are saying, it means that the original agreement entered into with Ghana by Hess will be the same agreement that, Aker Energy is going to abide by. Is that so?
In the oil and gas, there are two agreements. You have the exploration agreement, and then you have the developmental.
Okay.
The exploration agreement is for the areas that you are discoveries. You make a discovery now, areas where you made discovery. You now engage Petroleum Commission for the developmental agreement, a developmental program.
Yeah, but in this case, Hess had already had the plan of development from government and was pursuing, almost through to production level. So what happens to Aker now?
Aker will review the agreement. If it fits their profile, they will continue with it. If they want, they have engaged Petroleum Commission, MPC.
So which means it's subject to review?
Yes, it's subject to review by the...
Exactly. Now,
and the plans they have...
All right. Now, so what exactly does, Aker's entry into our local industry here hold for us as a country? Because we've touted, the competence, we've touted the Norwegian model of oil and gas exploration and production for a long time. That was even before the onset of oil production in the country. Now we have the Norwegians here in the country to explore. What does it hold for us?
Well, as you are aware, Aker is one of the first companies, and they've not been able to enter the market. Now that they have, that they will be able to bring on board to practice in the upstream, they practice our upstream. Key that the local, in Norway, they have a very good. So we are hoping that those in Norway, they will be able to get to benefit.
All right, so finally, before you go, what should we be doing, or how should we approach the relationship with Accra as a country?
Well, the relationship with Ghana in the upstream has been going on since 2007 for the last 10 to 11 years. So I don't think there's any change in the relationship. The only good thing now is that K is here, and we hope that they will abide by the rules of the country and introduce, like I said, the local content that is introduced in Ghana.
All right, many thanks for your time, Mr. Kojo Poku, for that analysis. Mr. Kojo Poku is an energy expert and he's been sharing his thoughts on the entry of a Norwegian oil company, Aker, into Ghana's oil and gas sector. Meanwhile, energy think tank, the African Center for Energy Policy, is calling on government to review existing oil contracts to ensure that the oil companies are investing in their blocks for revenue generation. According to the energy think tank, although government has contracts with about 14 international oil companies, capacity is not being maximized as some blocks are dormant. Speaking to Joy Business in an interview at an experts forum on oil contracting in Ghana, Executive Director for ASEP said the Energy Ministry must move from getting high stakes to ensuring that the IOCs are exploring well. All right, so we'll bring you details of that in our subsequent bulletins. Let's now turn our attention away from energy and trade associations, including the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders, the Customs Brokers Union, the Ghana Union of Traders Association, GUTA, and Importers and Exporters Association have begun discussion to hold a national demonstration to further press on their demand for the abolishment of the newly introduced cargo tracking note system at the ports. This is expected to follow the 3-day strike which started on Monday. According to the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders, a daily average declaration of about 5,000 cargo loads was reduced to only 48 as the strike kick-started on Monday. This is Ebenezer Sabute's report.
The Ghana Revenue Authority says the implementation of the CTN is intended to check fraud and reduce delays at the ports. Despite many agitations by the business operators, the GRA has sent a public notice in a section of the media that it is going ahead with the implementation from September 1 this year. The Tema port witnessed some disruptions in business transactions on the first day of the strike. Reports indicate there was a significant reduction in declaration of imported commodities. Statistics by the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders shows that a daily average declaration of about 5,000 cargoes was reduced to only 48 by end of Monday, worsening the revenue position of the port. Executive Secretary of the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders, Eddie Akron, insists they will not budge until government reacts positively to their concerns.
We will come here and then we're just keeping them company. We are not going to, do anything to anybody.
Does it mean you are not listening to the sector commander after he intervened to organize that meeting with you, an emergency meeting? Does it mean you are not going to listen to him?
We have listened to the sector commander. The sector commander is below the Commissioner of Customs. Okay? The Commissioner of Customs himself, he was at a meeting with us with the, the Deputy Minister for Finance. So we told them, that day that we had met already in the morning, we had a press conference, and this is our decision. Because for 6 months, we've been going at this. We have served a 14-page document to all of them to read it. Finally, it went to the Vice President. The GRA boss did not give us any, he did not bother us at all. He did not acknowledge receipt of the letter we had sent to him and neither the document that we sent to him. Finally, it took the Vice President, who listened and read this document, invited us, and we sat down with him. This thing has been suspended twice. On the 13th of February, we took our document. By the 16th of February, he suspended it. We came back. We heard this thing was going to come around again. They took us to the table. We sat in the Vice President's office. We sat around with the CTN folks. And then they came out with the second, suspension. The weird part about it, look, if you look at it, if you see any, letter coming from the presidents and they tell you that, oh, look, this is what we are cancelling the policy or we are suspending it. This is not what this letter sought to do. It actually went further to explain why they were suspending it.
So in effect, you are saying that the meeting between the sector commander and the commissioner is not going to yield any result?
We're hoping it will. We're not closing our doors to anything. If they come back to us today and say that, look, this is the results, maybe he's changed his mind from yesterday.
Withdraw your strike action.
Withdraw? That ain't happening, my brother. That ain't happening. If we want to go all the way, if it takes the president of the land to call us to table, and then we all put our cards on the table, and then we will know the superior argument would always win.
Meanwhile, Joy businesses gathering Guta will be holding a press conference on Thursday to declare their position on the intended demonstration.
Meanwhile, the Ship Owners Association and Agencies of Ghana, SOAG, says it may have no other option than to skip bringing imports into the country's ports until there is clarity on the implementation of the cargo tracking node system. The Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders strike in protest against the adoption of the CTN enters day 2 today after business activity slowed down considerably on Monday at the onset of the strike. We are joined on the line now by the Vice President of the Ship Owners Association and Agencies of Ghana, Imoro Ayana, to also share his thoughts on this particular development. Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to the marketplace. Now, what is your take on the implementation of the CTN and how is it, or is the strike impacting your business?
First of all, good afternoon. Yes, I think from a shipping line's perspective, it's a very dicey but simple issue. We have been directed by GRA, I'm sure, which is obviously the government, not to load any cargo into the country without a CTN reference number. And you know the implications are in two ways. We will be affected in volumes, and without volumes, it could mean also that some lines might change their routing. They might not call here because they wouldn't have the needed cargo to come. And others, I don't know what they would do. And which means that we cannot bring cargo into the country. Because when we bring them, we'll be penalized. Unfortunately, we don't even know the penalties involved. So that is the position or the situation in which we find ourselves.
All right. So since the strike started yesterday, how has it impacted on your activities?
You mean the strike by Ghana Institute
exactly,
of Freight
the GIF.
The challenge is obviously people are not taking cargo. Like we keep saying, when our containers, we want them on the sea. So if people are not taking cargo, then obviously the containers will be sitting on the ground. So people will not be releasing cargo for us to return the containers. So definitely that would be one impact on us with regards to the strike. We want cargo to turn around as quickly as possible. So those are the challenges we will have.
And could you educate us by way of figures with regard to the loss that you made yesterday?
That would be a huge challenge, but it's huge. When it comes to the strike, I cannot quantify anything because at the end of the day, when they delay the cargo, they will obviously have to pay for the demurrages and those other, and I'm sure Ghana Ports and Harbors will also charge rent. But when we cannot bring cargo into the country, you can see that it affects the whole vessel planning. And those could be very huge because if you have to change your routing, the hit is great. And no shipping line will sail with a loss-giving cargo to any port. Currently, we know the situation in Nigeria is fully packed, and Ghana is the obvious choice for people to also come through. So if that is also not happening, then it's going to be a challenge for West Africa.
Now, in an earlier interaction, you noted that ships, could be rerouting to other countries as well as you also skipping business from Ghana. Now, what are you going to do now in this regard? What do you expect government to do?
You know that the shipping lines are individual businesses. They are private businesses. So everyone is going to take a commercial decision. But the principal issue is that when I do change my routing, because maybe for lack of volume of cargo into Ghana, and I take Ghana off my routing, and maybe the situation normalizes, it will take me another maybe between 4 to 6 months to put Ghana back on the routing because all is cost. As you are changing your routing, you are contacting your network partners, etc. That is cost. I don't know if others might like to sail with low volume. That is a decision for them to make. But all those things have cost implications. I have had costs for the big exporters who have called me from yesterday to today that they are scared that if vessels do not come, then their exports would also be affected. My only suggestion to this whole impasse is that maybe the penalty should be lifted off. The incidence of penalty should not be on the shipping line, so that they may allow the shipping lines to bring in the volume whilst the issues are resolved. All the issues that all the parties are deliberating on may be resolved. Because if we don't bring volumes, the port will suffer, government revenue will suffer, shipping lines will suffer. It's not a nice game for everyone. So.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Imoru Ayana. He's the Vice President of the Ship Owners Association and Agencies Association of Ghana, and he's been sharing his thoughts on this current development where the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders GIF has embarked on a strike, as well as some trades association which are also threatening a demonstration somewhere. Next week we'll bring you more on that particular development as and when they unfold. But on that note, we wrap up this afternoon's edition of The Marketplace. Many thanks for your company. My name is Emmanuel Apuaji Riafi. Have a good afternoon.